So imagine a highly trained, heavily equipped infiltration team, right?
Okay, like a tactical unit.
Exactly. And they have this flawless blueprint of the secure facility they're targeting. They wait for the dead of night, they bypass the outer perimeter, and they move precisely according to their map.
Right, stepping exactly where the blueprint tells them to step.
Yeah. But now imagine the defenders of this facility don't fire a single shot. I mean, they don't trigger a single alarm, and they don't even physically engage.
Wait, so what do they do?
Instead, they just quietly move all the door signs in the dark.
Oh, wow. That's brilliant.
Right. The infiltrators are just supremely confident in their intelligence, so they follow their flawless map right into a containment cell. Today, we are looking at a masterclass in tactical deception that comes from, well, the most unexpected place imaginable.
It really is the ultimate example of asymmetric defense. I mean, we often assume that whoever has the most power or the best tools or, the most aggressive plan is going to win.
Yeah, the guys with the gear.
Exactly. But a rigid plan is actually a massive vulnerability if the defending side knows how to exploit it.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are taking a stack of source material that, on the surface, looks like a simple children's story.
Yeah, Julia Donaldson's What the Ladybird Heard.
Right. But if you are listening to this, you know we aren't just here for a bedtime story. We are going to unpack this narrative and explore what is actually an intricate study in threat intelligence.
Well, absolutely. It's about cognitive overload and really the weaponization of distinct animal sounds to completely dismantle a premeditated heist.
When you look past the rhymes and the illustrations, it is fundamentally a story about tactical cleverness.
It really explores how a seemingly powerless group uses superior intelligence like true smartness to manipulate their environment. They turn an attacker's own expectations completely against them.
Okay, let's unpack this. We need to set the scene and establish our baseline. Our setting is a farm.
A very noisy farm.
Yes, exactly. And like any operating environment, this farm has a baseline of normal activity. More specifically, it has a highly predictable baseline of sound.
Right, the acoustic environment.
Yeah, we have a diverse cast of characters, and they all have their normal expected vocal signatures. You've got the fine prized cow who says moo,
The fat red hen with her cluck.
the goose who hisses, the duck who quacks. There are 2 cats that meow, a handsome horse that neighs, a dainty dog, a woolly sheep, and a hairy hog.
It's a symphony of very specific animal sounds.
It really is. It's just constant.
And to understand the brilliance of what happens later, we really need to look this farm not just as a physical location, but as a complex system of acoustic signatures.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, think about it in terms of a computer network. If you're a cybersecurity analyst monitoring a massive enterprise system, your first and most important job is understanding the normal traffic.
Right, you have to know what the daily status quo sounds like.
Exactly, because that predictable, mundane communication is exactly what allows you to spot a dangerous anomaly the moment it occurs.
So the baseline here is noisy, but it's completely known. Every animal is basically broadcasting their identity constantly.
Yeah, they're pinging the network.
Right. The cow is pinging, saying, I am a cow. I am located here in the shed. The duck is pinging, I am a duck. I am located at the pond.
It's a constant stream of biological telemetry.
But then we have our anomaly. Amidst all this constant noise and broadcasting, we have the little spotty ladybird.
The silent observer.
Exactly. And her defining characteristic in this entire cacophony is that she never said a word.
Which puts her in the most important strategic position on the entire board.
How so?
Well, in a system where everyone else is transmitting, she is the sole node dedicated entirely to receiving.
Oh, that's a great point. It's like she's a stealth surveillance drone. While everyone else is giving away their position, broadcasting their presence through their standard animal sounds, the ladybird is just quietly gathering data without altering the environment in any way.
We talk a lot about the signal-to-noise ratio in intelligence gathering. Because the ladybird isn't contributing to the noise, she has the cognitive bandwidth to process the subtle signals that don't belong.
So she's practicing perfect operational security.
Yeah, exactly. By remaining completely silent, she becomes invisible to the attackers, which is exactly how she manages to intercept their plans.
And intercepts she does. She observes 2 men pulling up in a big black van. These are our adversaries, Heffy Hugh and Lanky Lynn.
The threat actors.
Right. And they come equipped. The source material tells us they have a map, a key, and a, quote, tunning plan.
The classic tools of an attacker who believes they have the environment completely figured out.
They really do.
I mean, they've done their reconnaissance, they've drawn up their schematics, and they believe the farm is just a solved puzzle.
And because she is in pure listening mode, the ladybird actually hears them whispering the exact route they plan to take to pull off this heist.
Which is their fatal flaw.
Totally. Their target is the fine, prized cow. Listen to this route, because the specificity is what ultimately dooms them.
Okay, let's hear it.
They plan to open the gate at dead of night, go past the horse, turn right round the duck pond, past the hog, and they specifically note to be careful not to wake the dog.
Nice detail.
Right. Then go left, past the sheep, straight ahead, and right into the prize cow's shed.
What's fascinating here is the massive epistemological failure in their methodology.
Wait, epistemological failure, break that down.
Yeah, look closely at that plan. They are relying entirely on static biological landmarks to navigate in the dark.
Oh, they are treating living, breathing animals like street signs?
Exactly. They have drawn a physical map, and on that map, the horse, the duck pond, the hog, the sheep, they are treated as fixed points of geography.
Like they're bolted to the ground.
Right. They are assuming that these vocal creatures are going to remain exactly where they were when the intelligence was first gathered.
So they've confused a dynamic living environment with a static, unmoving blueprint.
Spot on. It's a huge assumption.
So the ladybird has the intel. She breaks her silence, which is a huge deal, by the way, to warn the rest of the network.
The network being the other animals.
Yeah. She tells the animals this is how two thieves are planning to steal the cow, and she repeats the exact route she intercepted.
I imagine the initial reaction is chaos.
Oh, pure panic. And how do they express that panic? Through their true voices. The cow moos, the hen clucks, the goose hisses, the duck quacks, the cats meow.
Right, their alarm bells just go off in their native languages.
Exactly, because they realize the prized cow is in imminent danger.
Which is the standard biological response to a sudden threat, you know? Make noise, create confusion, and signal distress.
Yeah, but if they stop there, they lose the cow. Brute force or pure panic won't save them.
No, definitely not.
Right, because if it comes down to a physical confrontation, the animals lose. You've got Hefty Hugh and Lanky Len, two grown men, presumably armed with at least that key and whatever else is in that big black van.
A fat red hen and a dainty dog aren't going to win a physical fight.
Obviously not.
And this is where the ladybird initiates the pivot to strategy. She doesn't just deliver the threat intelligence, she delivers the mitigation plan.
The counterattack.
Exactly. She whispers a, quote, good idea into each animal's ear. This is the moment we see the true definition of tactical cleverness.
Right.
They realize they cannot outmuscle these adversaries, so they have to outsmart them. They must operate in the realm of asymmetric deception.
But wait, let me push back on this for a second, because if I'm putting myself in the shoes of the defenders, how exactly do you trick guys who have a literal map of your location?
It seems impossible at first.
Yeah, I mean, they have the route memorized, pass the horse, turn right. It's written down and rehearsed. If they already know exactly where they're going, I'd imagine a whispered idea isn't going to stop two determined guys in a van.
Yeah, it is the crucial hurdle, but it's also the key to the whole defense. You trick them by weaponizing the very tools they are relying on to navigate.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. You don't try to take away their map. You render the data on their map completely toxic.
Ah. So if I'm sneaking around an unfamiliar place in the pitch black, my adrenaline is pumping.
Oh, for sure.
I'm terrified of getting caught. I'm desperately grabbing onto any familiar data point to prove to myself that I'm safe and on the right track.
Yeah.
Is that the vulnerability they exploit? Because the thieves desperately want to believe their map is right.
You've hit the nail on the head. The thieves are operating in the dark. The text specifically notes it's the dead of night.
Right.
So their primary navigation tool isn't going to be sight. It has to be sound.
Oh, because they can't see the animals anyway.
Exactly. They are going to use the normal baseline of the farm, those expected animal vocalizations, to confirm their progress along their mapped route.
So they are actively seeking out confirmation that their map is accurate.
They are desperate for it.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We move to the execution phase. It's the dead of night. The farmer is fast asleep.
The perfect time to strike.
Hugh and Len open the gate and tiptoe into the farm, and the animals launch this incredible, coordinated auditory illusion.
It's amazing.
They systematically swap their vocal identities to act as false waypoints.
They initiate a massive, perfectly sequenced spoofing attack.
So the thieves are creeping in, and suddenly the goose says, "Neigh," with all her might.
A goose neighing.
Yeah. Now, the goose is not where the horse usually is, but Lanky Len hears the neigh in the dark, and his immediate reaction is to whisper, "That's the horse. Turn right."
Notice how he doesn't pause to verify the source.
No, not at all.
He just accepts the audio ping because it matches his expected route.
And the animals just keep escalating it. Next, the dainty dog begins to quack, and Hefty Hugh immediately says, "We're right on track." Then the two cats say, "Oink." Len says, "There goes the hog. Be careful not to wake the dog." Finally, the fat red hen says, "Bah," and Len thinks they've successfully reached the sheep.
It is a brilliantly executed sequence of false flags. Each animal is feeding the attackers exactly the data packet they need to take the next wrong step.
If you've ever blindly followed your car's GPS straight into a closed road or a dead end just because the screen told you to, you know exactly what vulnerability the thieves are experiencing here.
It really is a GPS spoofing attack, but biological.
Yeah, your phone tells you to drive straight, you trust the system over your own eyes, and you drive your car into a ditch.
Right, because the thieves are navigating entirely by sound, and the animals are using their own voices not to communicate reality, but to construct a fake reality.
That is so wild.
The psychology behind this is what makes it so devastating. In high-stress situations, especially when deprived of our primary sense of sight, the human brain suffers from intense cognitive load.
It's just overwhelming.
Exactly. To cope, the brain offloads processing power by heavily relying on confirmation bias.
Meaning they only process the information that proves they are right and ignore everything else.
Precisely. Confirmation bias is our hardwired tendency to search for and interpret information in a way that confirms our pre-existing hypotheses.
So Hugh and Len walked into that farm with a very rigid hypothesis.
Yes, the horse is here, the duck is here, the hog is here.
Right.
When they fumble in the dark and hear a neigh, their stressed brain instantly clicks and says, "Hypothesis confirmed. That is a horse."
It doesn't stop to do a spectral analysis of the sound to realize it's actually a waterfowl imitating an equine.
No, of course not. The context clues the darkness, the expectation, the sheer stress of the heist. They completely short-circuit the thieves' critical thinking.
It's brilliant.
If we look at real-world equivalents, this is exactly how cybersecurity honeypots work.
Oh, tell me about that.
If an attacker breaches a network, you don't just lock them out immediately. You feed them the exact file structure they expect to see.
Ah, to trick them.
Right. You let them think they're downloading the central database, but they are actually trapped in an isolated sandbox, interacting with dummy data.
And the animals are doing the exact same thing.
The exact same thing. By actively feeding Hugh and Len the sounds they wanted to hear, they aggressively steered them off course while making them feel completely in control.
They made the thieves feel supremely confident while literally walking them into a trap.
That's the real magic of it.
Which naturally brings us to the climax of this entire spoofing operation. The false waypoints haven't just been spinning them in circles, they've been systematically funneling them toward a very specific geographical hazard.
The final data point in the honeypot.
The duck pond.
Yes.
So they've been led completely off their intended path, following these spoofed animal sounds. And then the duck on the pond delivers the final blow. The duck says, "Moo, moo, moo."
The ultimate misdirection.
Right.
Delivered at the exact moment the attackers believe they've won.
Hugh hears the moo. His map tells him the cow is the final destination. He literally says, 2 more steps to go.
He's so close.
He believes they are standing right at the door of the prize cow's shed. And then, whoosh!
Splash.
Both men take those 2 steps and walk directly into the duck pond. The auditory illusion has successfully funneled them into a physical trap.
They navigated themselves right off a cliff, conceptually speaking.
Yeah.
Their reliance on a static map in a dynamic environment was absolutely their undoing.
It's perfect. The noise of them splashing and floundering around in the water wakes up the farmer.
Who yells, "Golly gosh."
Yes, and immediately calls the cops. The police arrive in their panda car with the sirens blaring, and they pull the thieves out of the pond and throw them in the back of the cruiser.
Threat neutralized.
All without the animals having to throw a single punch.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's crucial to observe what happens immediately after the arrest.
The source text makes a very specific point to list out the sounds again in the aftermath, right?
Yes, exactly.
The cow says moo, the hen says cluck, the goose hisses, the duck quacks, the horse neighs, the hog oinks, the sheep baas, and the dog woofs.
Order is restored. The baseline network traffic is completely reestablished.
They all go back to their authentic voices. The spoofing attack is officially over.
And that highlights the sheer discipline of the operation.
How so?
Well, the deception, that brilliant manipulation of their animal vocalizations, was a temporary, highly targeted tactic.
Right.
It was a permanent change in their nature. They didn't decide they were going to be different animals forever, and they didn't continue the chaos once the threat was gone.
They just turned it off.
Yeah. They used their voices as a tool to solve a specific problem, and once the system was secure again, they dropped the spoofing and returned to normal operations.
It shows that real tactical cleverness isn't just about coming up with a deceptive idea. It's about the discipline to execute it under pressure.
And the wisdom to know when the job is actually done.
It absolutely flips the traditional script on what it means to hold the strategic advantage. I mean, the traditional view of power is hefty Hugh and lanky Lynn.
Right. It's the big black van, the tools, the muscle, the detailed plan.
But this entire scenario shows us that being smart isn't about having the most power or the biggest muscles.
Not at all.
It's about understanding the terrain better than your opponent does.
It's about knowing your enemy's assumptions. The thieves assumed the farm was static.
And the animals knew it was dynamic.
Exactly.
And crucially, it's about cleverly using the exact tools you have at your disposal. The animals didn't try to build a barricade or, set up tripwires.
They didn't have the resources for that?
No. They looked at what they had, which was literally just the sound of their own voices, and they figured out how to weaponize it.
It's incredible.
They turned their everyday communication into a tactical weapon that completely crashed the thieves' navigation system.
They used their adversaries' reliance on fixed data against them. It's a humbling reminder that sometimes your greatest vulnerability is your own certainty.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Hugh and Len were so certain they knew what a horse sounded like and where it should be, they walked straight into a pond.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I think it comes back to the very first character we talked about.
The Ladybird.
Yeah. There is this beautiful, poetic ending to the source material. The thieves are in the back of the police car. The farmer is cheering. The cats are purring because their prized cow is safe.
The whole farm is celebrating out loud.
Right. But the text specifically notes that the little spotty ladybird went right back to never saying a word.
She returned to her optimal state.
Which is listening and observing.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with something really fascinating to think about. We live in a world that is just obsessed with broadcasting.
Constantly.
Everyone is constantly putting their signals out there, trying to make their voice the loudest in the room, constantly pinging the network to say, I'm here, look at me, look at what I'm doing.
And by doing so, they are constantly revealing their position, their capabilities, and ultimately, their vulnerabilities.
So here's a thought for you to take away from all of this. In an environment where everyone is shouting to make their voice heard,
Where everyone is relying on everyone else's noise to figure out where they are.
right. What if the greatest strategic advantage of all doesn't go to the loudest or the strongest or the one with the most rigid plan?
A provocative question.
What if the ultimate advantage goes to the person who remains entirely silent, just listening and learning how the system really works?